Welcome to the Fayetteville Fire Podcast, where we talk about all things fire-related, safety tips, and things that are happening in our can-do city. I'm Don Tschida, Captain Community Risk Reduction, and I'll be your host for today's podcast. Did you know grill fires cause an estimated $37 million in property loss each and every year? And we'll talk more about that later in the show during our safety tip. So today's show is going to be about generational firefighters. And today with me I have two very special guests, Lieutenant Retired Chris Johnson and Master Firefighter Ethan Johnson, second and third generation Fayetteville firefighters. Correct?
That's correct.
Welcome, gentlemen. How are you doing today?
Doing great, doing great.
So, second and third, and first generation was your dad, Chris,
Right.
Buck Johnson.
Well, he was, as we were talking earlier, he was one of the second group of paid men that was hired. He was actually a volunteer, came back from World War II, came back here to Fayetteville, and he volunteered, and then they went to the council approved a paid department, I guess, in 47. They hired a group of guys, and then he was actually hired in 1948, and he stayed until I was a late baby. He was 42 when I came along, but anyway, he stayed until 1987, I believe it was, and he retired. He had right at 38 years with the city.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he retired, and then I came on in the last part of 88.
So you just missed being up. Of course, back then, wasn't there still the nepotism rule? Then I know
it was kind of that nepotism thing was they kind of back and forth. There were some guys that were actually way before my time that their dads were there, and then they got real strict with it, and then it kind of changed back later on. So.
Yeah, and it changed because, Ethan, when did you join us?
I came on in 2018.
2018, and you retired?
2021?
22,
yeah.
So
May of 22, yeah.
You guys got some time shared together.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what was it like, growing up?
It was great, honestly. The Fayetteville Fire Department has always, it's just been a part of my life. From the time as far back as I can remember, I've always, something going on or hanging around the fire station. And it was, back then things were a lot different. I can remember, during the summer, my mom, she would go out shopping, and I'm like, I don't want to go shopping. And so I would actually get dropped off there at Haymont at the station there, and if they were reloading truck, to help out, and it was great. It was a family. You knew everybody. We would, go up there, and all the families would come up and eat, on a Friday night or something like that. And I was always there. If we were out or we went to church, we were coming back, stopping by and seeing them at the station. So, I was just a part of it. So.
And what Ethan, how was it for you growing up with your dad being a firefighter?
So it's actually pretty cool. He was at a fire station at the time that was around the corner from the house. So we would go every evening, eat dinner with Dad, hang out at the fire station. Us all being boys, we'd talk some junk to all the other firemen. And then it was pretty cool. Every now and again, they'd get a good-sized fire, and he'd call my mom, hey, we left the stove on. How about going and cutting the stove off? But it was really cool. A little bit different, though. We couldn't go out there and reload trucks, but we got to hang out quiet a bit, and it was a good time, always.
Yeah, and I ask you, Chris, is that what became the bug in you to eventually pursue the career?
Yeah, kind of. I knew, from an early age, I'm like, and honestly, I had never planned on staying, but I knew that I was going to try it. I knew that I was, I knew a lot of the people, I knew a lot of the guys, and when I got of age to put in and did, and I was fortunate and I got hired, at that time I was like, I probably won't stay here, but I'm at least going to give this a shot. And honestly, 33 years later, I decided to hang it up, but I'll tell you this, it's never, it truly is the best job ever, and there was never a day that I didn't enjoy getting up and going to work. That's why I stayed. I loved getting up and going to work. Those 4-day breaks, they were great, but I look forward to that first day back. Not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah.
I mean, about their job,
Oh, yeah. And that's, I enjoy it every day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
And you keep going.
Exactly. And the camaraderie you build, the team you build, you having some military background, you know what it's like to work with a group of guys. But it's also, the fire service is kind of a lot like that too. I mean, you eat together and all that. And that's one of the things that I think that, today's generational firefighters, the bonds that you build around that dinner table, because a lot of times they don't cook together. They don't, but that was when you built your team. That's when you built your group of guys. That's when you got to know and, your co-firefighter and all that. So, and I don't think they have that now like they used to. Some of them do.
Now, and we talked at a previous show about, station life. And one of the things you said, when I was still at Station 2, it was getting that transition where guys were eating special diets or doing different things. And I respected that. But my steadfast rule as the station captain was we all sit at the table at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care if you're eating different things.
Yeah.
We still all sit down.
Yeah, if you're eating a peanut butter sandwich and you're eating bologna or whatever, that's you ate together and you cleaned together, and that's what made the station life work.
Yeah, exactly. And Ethan, do you see anything? How much? I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes from when you grew up to now, when you're in.
There's a lot of changes. But believe it or not, it is from the time I was a kid, I'd always imagined it being one way, and it's never changed from that, I guess, point of view. It's stayed the same for the most part. It's been fun. For the past 5 years I've been there, it's been a blast. And it's the exact same way. We all sit down, we all cook together, we all have a good time. Every now and again we'll have a family night, and the families will come up and eat. Dad comes and hangs out with us some. He'll eat with us, and it's just a good time. It's the same, but different.
Did you know, growing up in the firehouse, did you know that this is what you were going to do?
Oh, yes. I knew it, and I was a little different, though, because I knew like he said, he didn't know he was going to do it the whole 30 years. I knew I'm going to stay in it till at least I die.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. So, Chris, your dad retired in 87. You come on in 88. So there's a lot of crossover in leadership. Because you grew up in the station, did you necessarily feel the pressure of filling the boots or get razzed by the older guys? Hey, can you keep up?
Well, yeah, because when I came in, there was still a lot of the guys that and chief officers that had worked with my dad. I was fortunate, there was no way I could fill his shoes, but there was always the pressure, hey, is he going to turn out like his dad, or is he going to be a good firefighter, good, leader or whatever? And so, yeah, there was a little bit of pressure, but for the most part, it was a lot of those guys, it was shortly after that, when he retired, they also retired too, but it was not a lot of pressure to fill his shoes, I guess.
And probably a little bit different back then, because when you were growing up hanging around, there was just a few stations, so it was a pretty small family. And even when you got hired in 88, it was still a fairly small fire department.
It was. When I got hired, they had just completed Station 7. And so I was kind of hired in that group. There was a bunch it was a large group for when they did Station 7, but I was the last of that I guess 20 some guys that they hired. So there was 5 in my group, but it was still small to an extent. Like I said, 7 stations, and you knew everything was going on. That was a great thing. You knew everybody that was at station across town, and it was just a lot closer knit, I guess, than it is today. I mean, I've seen the transition, and it's been good. The department's grown tremendously, but it went from where you knew everybody to the guys now you don't ever. I mean, even working there, you don't even know them.
Yeah,
and it's just but I always enjoyed the smaller concept. I always think back, and me and some of the other guys that I came on with, we talked that we came in at a time frame where the fire service and the department was changing. They were going to enclosed cabs, but if you never got to ride the back seat of an open cab, or you never got to slide down the pole, those were things that were really, some of the cool things to do in the fire service.
Yeah. And I'll concur. It's not much change from '88 when you got hired, in '97 when I got hired.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the only thing difference was they added Engine 8 at Station 6.
That's it.
But still downtown, still slid down the poles.
Yep.
We still had only 7 stations. I think 150 something was the department. Yep. So we were 50 plus personnel on shift. So you knew everybody.
You knew everybody on all 3 shifts.
Yeah.
And
now you run into people and you're like, "Yeah, how long you been?" I've been here 5 years.
Yeah, and
you just
never see them.
Yeah, I mean we're up to what 17 stations or so now.
17 stations.
352 persons.
So it's doubled since I came on for the most part, and you too, really.
Yeah,
always a new face.
Yeah.
And so when you come on, Ethan. A little bit different because your dad hadn't yet retired. He was still here, but still, did you, from growing up and being around it to getting hired, did you feel some of them pressures? Can I live up to my grandpa and my dad? And
yes, absolutely. So the one pressure that even today I still hear is, "Man, Ethan, your dad can drive a fire truck," and I'm like, "Oh, I want to make sure I can meet that expectation." They always talked about how good of a driver he was. They said he could turn the wheel on one and just let it go. And one day, I feel like I'm going to be that good. But that was one of the big expectations that's held. You get behind the wheel with some other captains that work with my dad, and it's like, "Your dad could really drive a fire truck." And it's like, I know. But just wait. Just hold on.
Well, and it's, you got promoted. When did you get promoted? Did you get promoted fairly early on?
It was, it seemed like it took forever, but I guess you think about it. So I was promoted in '98, and I think that was when the Bonnie Doon thing, So it was '98, so about 9 years.
So you've been driving a fire truck for quite a while.
Yeah.
It reminds me of one of my first lieutenants, Stanley Jacobs.
Mm-hmm.
And, he could turn a wheel.
Oh, yeah. Stanley was a good driver. And that was always that was what I enjoyed, really. And that's why I never really wanted to advance up. I enjoyed driving the truck. I like having control of the truck. That was kind of my thing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, a lot of you older, I'll use that term loosely, but a lot of you older lieutenants, that was your thing.
Yeah.
You had the guys that just could turn a wheel.
Yep.
And they were happy doing that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So you're still getting there, Ethan?
I think I'm still getting there a little bit. Those are some big shoes to fill. But that is one thing that I will say, it makes you feel good knowing that everybody is like, "Oh, yeah, I remember your dad when he worked here. He could drive a fire truck." And it definitely gives you something to look up to, especially, the further I go, it's cool. And then when it comes to my grandpa, not many people that I work with now really knew my grandpa. Most of the guys I've met are retired, and they knew my grandpa. So that's different because they've never worked with you, you never worked with them, but you know them. It's like, "So are you going to go all the way up to captain like your grandpa?" Well, one day.
We'll take it one day at a time.
Yeah, one day at a time. We got a long ways to go.
Yeah. Or even a level higher.
Yeah. One day each at a time.
So, Chris, some of the assignments you were in during your tenure.
Well, actually, most of my career I spent in Battalion 1, which is the downtown area, north side. I spent most of my career there. There was a time, a slight period that I spent at Station 6. It was all right, but I was out of my element. I mean, and you know how it is when you spend. I mean, I could run a call in Battalion 1 with my eyes closed, and I knew the area, and especially the 3, the 2, the 1. 7, not quite as good, but I knew 3, 2, and 1 area, like, and then I went to 6 for a little bit, and I was just, I was out of my element there, and then I went back. I went back to 7 for a little bit, and then back to 2. So.
Yeah, you were on a hazmat team.
Yep, on the hazmat team.
When you're enjoyable.
It was. It really, and I'll tell you how that happened. I was at Station 3, and we went to a call at one of the trucking companies there on Pamela Drive, and the back of the trailer was on fire. You go in, put the fire out. So we went in, put the fire out. When I came out, I looked like Barney. I was purple, and it was a chemical that it was for water treatment. But anyway, I was purple when I came out, and of course the hazmat guys are sitting way out here at the road, But we were just doing what we were told to do, and come to find out, I mean, it wasn't anything really bad. But I was like, this might be a good thing to look into, because they seem to be smart. They're down the road there watching, and we're up here all in the middle of it. So I decided to take the hazmat route, and it really. I was able to go to a lot of different classes all over Colorado several times, Georgia, and I enjoyed that. It was a good part.
And back when you got on the hazmat team, that was probably right around the time that the RRT program come along? Or?
We were. When I was on it, it hadn't actually come out, but our battalion commander at the time, which was Benny Nichols, who later became fire chief, but he was. He took that was his thing, and he's the one that really kind of set that up, and they were in the process of writing the specifications and all that, and we were I think we were one of the first teams they awarded. There was when it came out, but we definitely right there when the program came into play, the first. So, and it was it gave us an opportunity. We got additional equipment and got more training, and also was responsible for more areas of response, going outside of the county now and the different communities. So.
And Ethan, you chose against hazmat?
Well, yes, I went the rescue route. That was probably one of the best moves that I've made, and it's fun. It's one of those where it's high speed, low drag, all the time you're doing something, cutting cars to doing rappelling. I mean, it's cool. And then the same thing, it opens up the door for a lot of different classes outside of what we offer at Fayetteville Tech. Along with that, we also have a bigger response area of the state and even sometimes the nation. Depending on a part of the USAR team, we can get up and go to Texas for 7 days and do boat rescues and stuff like that and come back. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we've seen the rescue side, just like you've seen the hazmat side develop over the years. We've both had the pleasure of watching the rescue side develop.
Right.
Back a while ago, it was Rescue 1 at Station 4. And they probably got canceled.
Yeah.
It became the 1019 truck. They probably got canceled more than they went to anything, to developing the USAR program and 2 dedicated heavy rescue stations.
Right.
And all the technical guys and stuff. So
it's not what I expected it to be, that's for sure. It was, when I got on rescue, I was like, man, this is going to be cool. Might cut some cars, might do some training. And then it's definitely develop more than that, because then you get put with a group of guys that's got the same skill set and the same knowledge. That is awesome group of guys that you get to work with, and we talked about camaraderie earlier. It really brings the camaraderie just a little bit closer in. It's like glue, about like glue.
And that's, I was on a hazmat team for many years, and in the same thing, when you got guys that are not only want to be there as firefighters, but then they want to do that extra step and them extra skill sets. It just brings you, I think, that much closer in the bond.
Oh, yeah.
And I would encourage any of our young firefighters listening today to take them steps. Do a specialty, whether it's hazmat, rescue, and now we're developing the fire investigation side of it, a third specialty. But I think it enhances your career, maybe.
Well, it gives you some movement there within your career. That was one of the things I told Ethan when he got hired. I said, don't get stagnant. It's not all about just fighting fire. I said, find you a track that you want to go into and dive into it. Get involved with the specialties.
Yeah, and for some it's okay. I was a ex-infantry guy, so I was high speed, low drag.
Yeah.
So you come there, and I'm not putting any firefighters down, but it's different coming to working every day, knowing you're just getting on a fire truck and you're going to fire EMS versus you come into work and you might be in Robeson County on a major hazmat spill, or you might be loading up to go to Wilmington for, swiftwater rescue. There's always that different element.
For sure. Yeah. And the crazy thing about it too is when you take a specialty track and you follow it, then it you see more of the people behind the scenes, and you start to meet people behind the scenes, as opposed to when you go to work every day and you, like you said, you get on a fire truck, run fire and EMS calls all day, and you're in that station, in that battalion, and you'll see your battalion chief and you'll see your crew. This opens up to where you see everybody else behind the scenes that makes the department function, especially being at 14 where all the chiefs are. You get to see all of them all the time. But there's people across the state that you end up meeting. When we went to structural collapse, we met guys from New Hanover, from Durham, Raleigh. The hazmat guys, they meet people from Wilmington and all the other RRT teams. It really allows you to network more.
And I would encourage, we've had the opportunities to go out of state, been Colorado, the National Fire Academy, but I'd encourage our young firefighters, even if they are riding that engine and they don't want to do any specialties, go to the National Fire Academy, do a command and control class, just network and meet these people from other departments with other ideas. And it's a very stimulating thing to do, I believe.
Very much so is.
So, Ethan, are we raising fourth generation yet?
We're working on it. My son now, he absolutely loves the fire department. Anytime he comes and sees me at the fire station, it's, I want to get in this fire truck. No, I think I want to get in this fire truck. No, let's open this compartment, see what's in it. I mean, he is all about it. So I hope so. He enjoys it just as much as I do. I just hope he stays with it.
Kind of remind you of somebody growing up.
Yeah, it does. But I will say, my dad really never. He always wanted. I guess he thought I could do better, and I mean, I was proud that what my dad did, but he always thought I could do better and wanted me to do something different. But I will say the time that I put in and was going through the process, he was 100% supportive then. But I think he thought I could do something different. I don't know, but.
And the same when you were on, Ethan coming around wanting to get in all the compartments.
Yeah, Ethan would go and he'd come to the station as a little guy and open doors and look at equipment, and every now and then he would find something that the driver operator missed on his checkoff, and he'd ask the question, "Where's that at?" And we're like, it was funny, but it was missed, and he noticed it. So he's only 6 years old.
It's bad when you're 4 and you know every tool on every truck.
So, but I knew Ethan early on that was going to be his calling, because he was just eat up with it, and even his siblings, they're that I don't know if you know this, but I do have another son, and he strayed completely not into the family business of fire. He went law enforcement, and that he works for the city PD, and but Ethan, that's because they say it, they joke about it, him being always wanting to play fire. It was all they did.
It is all we did. And then the older I got, and I started getting on these volunteer departments and coming home and asking Dad questions, they're like, man, this is all we heard about. We don't want nothing to do with this. Whereas opposed to me and Dad, even to this day, we're still so eat up with it. I'll call them and be like, hey, let me tell you what happened at work yesterday.
And that's the one thing I have to say. Ethan has definitely been dedicated. He had the opportunity. When me coming along, I didn't have the opportunity to be a volunteer, and because we lived in the city, and just didn't. So I didn't have that opportunity to go be a junior or anywhere like that. It was totally, and at the time frame I came on, they were hiring a lot of people with a lot of experience. So I kind of, it's a little bit different for me. But I have to say, Ethan's been steadfast. He's been dedicated. If he's not, that's always been his dream, was to be a Fayetteville fireman or firefighter. But he's also, dedicated to the community department that he volunteers and works here. And so he's a lot more, I guess I could say he's a lot more dedicated than I was.
Well, yeah.
It was hard for me, even after I got hired with the city. A lot of guys work part-time. I didn't want to do that. I mean, I loved it, but I did not want to go work at another fire station part-time.
No, that's one thing I never did. Do something else.
Yeah.
But, well, gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Ethan, I'd say when we get the fourth generation on board, we'll do it again, but I probably won't be here. I won't be around by that time. So thank you again for both.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Let's go back to our safety tip of the month. This month's safe tip is grilling safety. As it's getting warmer, we're going to use the grill more and more. Almost 60% of home grill fires occur during the months of May through August. Patios, terraces, screen porches, courtyards are leading locations of having grill fires. Some of the safe tips we'll give you today: only use a grill outdoors, away from siding and deck rails. Do not use it in a garage. Clean your grill often. Get rid of all that grease and that fat buildup that can flare up and cause a fire. Make sure your gas grill lid is open before lighting so you don't have any gas buildup in there. Have a 3-foot safe zone around your grills. Keep your kids, your pets away from that area. If you're using a charcoal grill, make sure you dispose of your coals after they have cooled in a metal can. Don't assume they're cool, put them in a paper bag and throw them in your trash can. And never leave the grill, fire pit, or any patio torches unattended. And the last tip of the day and every day is always make sure you have a working smoke alarm in your house. Working smoke alarms save lives. But you must also have an escape plan. Know what you're going to do when that alarm goes off. Thanks for joining us on the Fayetteville Fire Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Radio Fayetteville on your favorite streaming platform to listen to all our podcasts. We'll see you next month for our next show. Until then, be safe.